Start recording. And that will be sort of our go sign right there. All right, everybody. Thank you all for making time this afternoon, this Sunday. We're all here to acknowledge the untimely passing of a great friend, a great comrade, a great activist, Gordon Miller. And Gordon Miller was probably the most active activist I've known, particularly in Contra Costa County. And if you forgive me for sharing a personal remembrance, the first time I was lucky enough to encounter Gordon was sometime early 2016. I came up to Contra Costa County for the Bernie Sanders campaign, and immediately the activists that I met, Kyoko, Kate Ferrara, Ellis Goldberg, who's here with us, and Gordon Miller, and they were so welcoming and they were so kind and showing me the ropes of the activist community in Contra Costa. And Gordon particularly was effusive in his knowledge, and he became a great friend to me, a great mentor, and he became a model of what an activist is. He was tireless, he was generous, he was always willing to show up, and I will always be grateful for that model. And and for those of you who miss him as much as I do, I am very happy to present to you a wonderful little slideshow. Thank you for that, Ina. Thank you so much. Let me stop sharing here. Uh, uh, that was really wonderfully put together, Ina. Thank you so much for that. Boy, I'm sure a lot of us saw ourselves in a lot of those photographs, and uh, just like I said, Gordon was the activist who was always active. He was always there to show up for the cause. And it didn't matter the time, the day, or I mean, he was so giving in that regard. That's the one thing that we activists don't have enough of, which is time to give. And Gordon was so generous with making sure that he'd be there for for us for this movement. And he was a real beautiful soul. And One of the things I'm going to play now, by special request of Gordon himself and his brother Walter. One of the things I remember showing up in Walnut Creek, of all places, for a Stop Fossil Fuels demonstration. And I remember going into the most posh of shopping areas in Walnut Creek, and I heard Michael Sullivan and Gordon belting out these satirical protest songs where you could hear their voices ringing all through Walnut Creek. And it was the most boisterous I'd ever seen Gordon. He was holding, he was as theatrical as any cabaret singer I've ever seen in terms of belting it out and holding the note, and he would be pointing at people as they would cross the street. It was magnificent. And Michael was there too, and they were like two naughty kids, Michael and Gordon singing these songs, and it was wonderful. And one of Gordon's all-time favorites was the great Tom Lear, who was the great social satirist of the 1960s. And I'm going to share right now one of Gordon's favorites, and we're going to enjoy Tom Lear for the next 2 minutes. Please, I hope the sound will come through strong. Let me just make sure. All right, so this should be good. All right, everybody.
Well, it seems we have time for one more, and this is one I always like to close with. Recently, there has been a great deal of ferment in the Roman Catholic Church involving more liberal changes. In particular, they have permitted the use of vernacular language instead of Latin in portions of the Mass. They have made optional the eating of meat on Friday. This pleased me very much because I've always felt there was a basic inconsistency in the church dogma there. You see, it was all right for a soldier to kill a man on Friday, but it was a sin to eat him. So, also, they have permitted the use of some secular music in portions of the liturgy. And I think that last was a particularly good idea, and inspired me with the thought that if they really want to sell what they have to sell, what they should do is redo some of the liturgical music in real popular song forms. So I tried one with the ragtime form, and it is called the Vatican Rag. First you get down on your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect, and genuflect, genuflect, genuflect. Do whatever steps you want if you have cleared them with the pontiff. Everybody say his own, Kyrie eleison, doing the Vatican Rag. Processional, step into that small confessional. They're the guy who's got religion'll tell you if your sin's original. If it is, try playing it safer. Drink the wine and chew the wafer. 2, 4, 6, 8. Time to transubstantiate. So get down upon your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect, and genuflect, genuflect, genuflect. Make a cross on your abdomen. When in Rome, do like a Roman. Ave Maria, gee, it's good to see you. Getting ecstatic and sort of dramatic and doing the Vatican Rag.
All right. The great Tom Lear. Tom Lear, who, why did he quit? Why did he quit show business? Why did he quit satire? He said, well, when Henry Kissinger got the Nobel Peace Prize award, satire officially died. If that was true, satire has died many times since then as well. Oh, Javanka Beckles is here, and I know she is so busy. For those, as we all know, weekends are prime time for campaigns. So, Jovanka, I don't want to I don't want you to wait. I want to give you the spotlight as soon as possible. Jovanka, if you are available, go ahead and unmute, and I am very eager to give you the floor.
Yeah, mark it. Hey, yep. Nicole said, "Hey, is that Mark?" I said, "Yes, it is." She says hello. And I apologize. First of all, I'm all late. It's been one of those days. One thing after the other, but good things, good things with good people. So I just and I guess this is in honor of our beloved Gordon, right? And us getting an opportunity to say a few things about him to the family. And may I ask how many family members are here?
That's a good question, Jovanka. We have Walter Miller, who's with us,
Yes.
and
I'm
who
here
is Gordon's
too.
brother.
There's a few
Bro-
others.
So brother and who else?
Niece.
I believe we have a couple nieces, nephews, brothers.
All right. Okay. I just thought it's so important, of course. And I'm on a phone. If I were on my laptop, it sure would be a lot easier to be able to see everyone and at least recognize some last names. But I did have the honor of meeting Walter. Gosh, like I said, so on my phone, I'm not seeing Walter, but um maybe it's a matter of scrolling. Anyway, a lot different on the phone than the laptop, huh?
He's sitting with me sharing my computer.
Okay, yeah. So I had the honor of meeting Walter, and really just seeing how you all seem to have just this heart, as a family. And I see where Gordon gets it. Walter was such a genuine, kind human being, and I imagine the same thing for the other family members that are here. You said nieces and such. I really am incredibly sorry that this is that we're meeting under these circumstances, but glad that because of Gordon and his life and pardon me and his passion for justice, being able to meet you all despite the circumstances. But Gordon brought so many of us together, and I'm glad to be together with you all in this room. Our I'm saying our comrade, our brother, our family member. Gordon was like a family member, and this is in this election for California State Senate that I'm a candidate for. I just always lit up, as did he when we saw each other in these spaces. I mean, Gordon was at all of them. I can't really think of any of the volunteer opportunities, rally opportunities, rallying for Palestine, rallying for corporate free candidates, justice oriented public servants. He was just always at all of these in these spaces. And I'm so honored to have been able to cross paths with him. So honored to have basically um touch the place in his heart to make him want to spend his spare time helping us, this movement that I'm a part of. Not just this campaign. This campaign is about a movement. And so having him there at every last one of these our volunteer opportunities truly made my heart smile. I'm going to, of course, miss Gordon, miss seeing him come up and tap me on the shoulder, like, hey, I'm here. It was always that kind of attitude. I'm like, oh, wait, what's going on, Gordon? I truly always feel blessed. And I give thanks to the universe, however we identify, our higher power. For me, it's God, it's spirit, it's the universe, it's, just the almighty. That's how I identify my higher power. So I'm just always grateful and thanking God at least twice a day for putting me in the path of so many good people. And Gordon was one of those really good people that I am incredibly blessed to have crossed paths with. And my deepest condolences to the family. And I thank you for sharing him with us. Much love, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jovanka. I think you just spoke for everybody here. Yeah.
Thank you.
And one of the greatest tributes we can give to Gordon is to fulfill his desire to make sure that the next state senator for District 7 in California will be Jovanka Beckles. And we got to make sure, for the sake of California, is the
Yeah.
And so, Jovanka, we are all at your service because you've been at service to all of us in so
Thank you.
many ways. And this campaign is really all of our campaign. It's really the movement's campaign, and we're grateful that you are the movement candidate who's had the integrity and who's had the record. And I could give tribute to you all day, but we're gonna
Thank
make
you.
sure that that state Senate District 7 is going to be blessed with your representation. So
Thank you. Thank you so much, y'all.
I'm very florid today.
Blessing. Thank you. I
Thank
may
you.
have to drop off early, but I'm going to stay on as long as I can in honor of Gordon.
Thank you, Jovanka. I know you're so busy. We really appreciate you making the time, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Gordon Wood. Bye-bye.
I remember having lots of in-depth conversations with Gordon, and he was remarkably hip. That's how I could say it. He really understood power. He understood systems of power, and uh, and he understood. He was sort of a New Deal Democrat at heart, but he also understood how insufficient the New Deal was, and he was aware of all the people that were not included in the New Deal, and that he recognized that the charge of modern progressives is to make sure that everyone is represented and everyone is included and nobody's left behind. And Gordon understood that, and I always appreciated him for having that understanding. Um, there's so many little moments that I remember about Gordon. So for at our revolution, Contra Costa and East Bay, we would do these candidate interviews with people that were wanting our revolution's endorsement. And Gordon he would ask his questions in he was always very he was always very prepared, and everything was very crisp when he made his questions, and it would always be about the candidate's relationship to power and their understanding of what power is. And after a candidate sometimes would answer well or would fumble with an answer, no matter if it was a good or bad answer, Gordon would respond, "Okay," in such a way that the candidate did not know if if they made a good answer or not. It made them feel like it's like, well, if that's your answer, I guess you're stuck with it. The way he said it kind of had that sound. And also when he would make statements on meetings, it was this endearing trait that he had. He would make a statement, always very crisp and well thought out. And then at the end, he'd say, "I yield." And I always love that. And I think in tribute to Gordon, I'm going to start taking on that that affectation, or not affectation of Gordon's, me affecting for Gordon. And anyway, he was just wonderful. And also, I mean, I can't stress this enough. he always showed up. He was asked, he would always show up. He'd be there. He would be there. And particularly 2019, 2020 for the Bernie campaign, I mean, Visca and I would constantly be at his apartment. We'd be making buttons for another round. It was so funny. We went to Iowa for the Iowa caucuses for Bernie, and we had a suitcase loaded with buttons that Gordon made, and they were incredibly effective. I mean, everyone accepted the buttons, and these buttons also had sort of Gordon's idiosyncratic causes, thrown in as well. It wasn't just, rah rah Bernie. It was all, find out about the Powell memo, which which was an issue that Gordon educated me about, and I was actually able to put in front of the Bernie Sanders campaign. And I hope it was always a proud moment that Bernie's campaign did an actual video on the Powell memo. Again, always about power and understanding power. Those are just some memories that have come to me. I kind of want to open the floor up to other people. Gordon's brother Walter will be speaking in a little bit, but I wanted just to give a space for everyone else to tell their memories of Gordon, and I will I will do it as I see it. Sarah Cleveland, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
I knew Gordon through CARE, the California Alliance of Retired Americans, and I'm a little older even than Gordon, and I've been active in politics in one way or another for about 70 years. But Gordon was activist in the best sense of the word. I mean, he was truly involved in everything that he thought was important, which were the things that I thought were important too, even though I'm not a member of our revolution. And Gordon and I served on CARA's legislative committee. And so, our legislative priorities, we would have a particular bill or somebody would want us to support it. And once we decided to support it, then who's going to write the letter? I mean, some of these things came through, with like templates, and all we had to do was fill in the blanks and sign California Alliance for Retired Americans. And Gordon was always the one to volunteer to write the letters, if nobody else would. And Gordon had a remarkable and extended sense of humor, which is one of the things that I really loved about him, because so many people, both on the left and the right, are so focused like this, very narrow, that they can't see the absurdities, in political life. He had a great sense of humor and used to carpool with him when before the pandemic. The legislative meetings were held in Sacramento. And so be Gordon and me and a couple other people, we would meet him in Martinez, and then we would drive up to Sacramento because there's no way that I would ever drive up there. Gordon had a lead foot, and I was very glad to sit behind and not really see what the speedometer said, because I think I might have had a heart attack. But I was shocked to hear that Gordon had left us, because apparently up until apparently he swore a couple of people to secrecy, and they honored his wishes of what was going on with his health. So we all can speculate, but I don't know, and it's not my business to know unless Walter wants to tell us. And he just seemed to be okay. He was a good heart. He would come to the CARA meetings. We had rotating who was going to bring food, and Gordon was very generous about being food, and he had a really good spaghetti. And, I'm going to miss him for a very long time, because, he just was such a good person. There aren't very many really good persons around. And he had a generous heart and a generous spirit. And I really loved Gordon. And my late husband was a Buddhist, and he's a Korean Buddhist, though he was Irish American. And that tradition, 49 days after you die, your spirit goes to the universe. And I expect that Gordon's spirit's going to go to the universe, and he's going to be there watching us and laughing his ass off.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for that. He was a very proud representative of the California Alliance for Retired Americans, and he wore that banner beautifully throughout Contra Costa. Sherry, go ahead.
Well, Mark, I have a statement from Susanna, but before I read it, I'd like to follow up with what Sarah said. The Tuesday after he was in the entered in the hospital, we were actually scheduled to meet in Martinez because he was going to drive me to Sacramento to speak on AB 2200, and I had wanted to go up, and I like to drive, but I kind of didn't want to go by myself. And so he said, I'll pick you up in Martinez, and here's the directions, and this is where you go, and this is where you park. So he really was always ready to help a friend when he was there for the cause. Susanna, who's one of our co-chairs of our revolution, couldn't be with us today, but she asked me to read a statement to you all from her. So I'm going to read the statement that she sent. First, I'm so sorry that I can't be with all of you today, but I will be watching the video as soon as it's posted. I'm currently on a plane somewhere over the ocean, headed on a much needed vacation to Spain and Ireland. I will miss Gordon for so many reasons. His commitment and attention to detail were spot on. He was always making us spell things, so he got the minutes correct. His dry sense of humor was fabulous, as was his brain power. I marched, tabled, attended conventions, progressive events, and oh, so many meetings with Gordon. He was one of the voices, he was one of the powerful progressive voices helping to make the big changes at the Costa Conta Central Committee, and his voice there will be sorely missed. He, Ina, and I had a blast during a spur of the moment dinner during the last November's convention in Sacramento. After a crazy day protesting the genocide in Palestine, we all met at our hotel's restaurant for a much needed break and some good food. The restaurant was amazing, and we shared a ton of tapas-style dishes, had delicious cocktails, and at the end, Gordon insisted on picking up the tab. He was a true gentleman and a Renaissance man in my book. Gordon, I love you, and I will miss you. Susanna.
That's really beautiful. Thank you, Sherry. Just real quick, I can't stress this enough. Every time I would go up to Sacramento, there'd be a bill from ACE on affordable housing. There'd be an environmental bill about stopping fossil fuel exploration on public lands, or there'd be the nurses with CalCare. Gordon was there. Gordon was there up in Sacramento too, just ready to go, always ready to go. And it really is a loss. It really is a loss. My dear friend Ellis Goldberg, who is also a mentor, who was also one of the kindest people who, along with Gordon and Kate Ferrara and Kyoko, were so kind to me as I came up to Contra Costa for Bernie Sanders in 2015, 2016. Ellis, go ahead.
Mark, you're going to ruin my reputation as a badass. Gordon was, like for many of you, a partner in crime for me. And we did a lot of really great things that we didn't think that we'd ever do in our lifetime. We held a demonstration in front of the Philip Burton Federal Building commemorating 5 years after the Citizens United decision. It was called Mourning for Democracy, and mourning with a U. And we had about 300 people there. And Gordon and I and Eloise and a bunch of others who used to meet in Panera's every Friday morning for coffee.
Me too.
And my wife, Sharon, of course, my number one partner in crime. But Gordon said to me at one point, in fact, he said it in front of an audience of Bernie supporters after we had lost the nomination, that Gordon's proudest day was when we convened the Bernie caucus in Rossmore to pick delegates to go to the Democratic convention to represent Bernie Sanders. it was his proudest day. And I have to say, it was my proudest day too, politically anyway. Gordon helped us organize so many things. And I'm glad to say that for those years between when we organized that Philip Burton demonstration and the Friday before the Saturday that his event happened, we continued to have coffee with him every Friday morning. He didn't always show up, but most of the time he did. And as Mark pointed out, Gordon had a great sense of humor. And I'm going to pass on the last joke he told me, which was real short. He said, if a man says something and a woman doesn't hear him, is he still wrong?
Yes, he is.
And she verified, yes, he is. There's something that I want to say to a lot of people here. I met Walter when Gordon was in the hospital and spent some time on the phone with him. And Gordon and Walter had a conversation a few months earlier when Gordon went down to LA. And the conversation was about what to do in a situation that Walter was in at the hospital. He had to make decisions, health decisions for Gordon. And I know something like 75 people visited him in the hospital. And you probably saw Gordon there, not Gordon, Walter there most of the time. And what I'm telling people is this could happen to you, and have that conversation with your loved one. And don't leave them with a guilt trip. It's the worst legacy you could possibly have. Walter and Gordon had that conversation, and I'm pretty sure Walter doesn't have the guilt trip because of that. Take that to heart. It could happen to any of us. We could be at either in the hospital bed or making the decisions. Have that conversation with your loved one now before it's too late, and don't leave them with a guilt trip. I hope I haven't brought everybody down. And thank you, Mark, for doing this. And thank you, our Revolution, for doing this. You want to say something, Sharon?
Sharon, yeah.
Gordon was a good friend, and we'll always remember him. And we always look for him at rallies and stuff like that. And is Gordon going? What's the scoop? Where is it? What's going on? Yeah.
I have one humorous anecdote. We were all demonstrating in front of the Chevron refinery in Richmond, and I was standing there with Sheila Fish, and she's on this call too, I believe. And Gordon had his own megaphone, and he came by, and he was so loud that he blew both of us over. We were just hugging each other not to fall down. Now, you want to know somebody serious about politics? They have their own megaphone. That's hardcore. Gordon had his own megaphone.
Ellis and Sharon, thank you so much for that. I'm so happy to see both of you. I love you both so much. Ellis, I appreciate those that actual wisdom. That's real wisdom. That's real wisdom to impart to all of us. And you've made me think about this now quite a bit. And I'll probably be thinking about it for the next 5 hours. Let's see. I can just say
let me give you a hint, Mark. Speak to your mother.
So when we saw Gordon in the hospital, the nurses and the staff of the hospital had never seen anything quite like it. All the people coming to see Gordon, and they were kind of reeling from it and trying to figure it out logistically. And nurses were warning the other nurse that was coming in for the another shift that there's going to be a lot of visitors. And anyway, it was just a nonstop stream of love and people who wanted to be there for Gordon. it's still so shocking to think that Gordon won't be there. I mean, at events, if I saw Gordon was at an event, I knew I was at the right place. If I saw Gordon, I knew this is where I need to be. Gordon's here.
And
So,
spirit.
yes. So we have to be that spirit. We have to be that for other people. Thank you, Alice and Sharon. Thank you so much. My good friend Kenji. Kenji, go ahead.
I think we all know Gordon was not shy about his views, his opinions on issues, views which most of us share very strongly. But one thing I felt he always was kind of shy about was his ego. He was a man of great humility. Gordon showed up, he got involved in issues, and I never saw from him any evidence of caring about whether he got credit or whether he was in a position of prestige or anything like that. And those kinds of the desire for prestige and to be a big shot and so on, it's often a barrier to getting things done. And I think someone famously said, I don't remember who, it's amazing what you can get done if you don't care who gets the credit. And from all I saw of Gordon, always, he didn't care who got the credit. He just showed up and did what needed to be done. And I respected him deeply for it. And it's a great loss. And really want to give my condolences to the members of the Miller family who are here with us.
Thank you, Kenji. Thank you so much for that. One of the things that Gordon did to just show you how much he stepped up in our revolution, East Bay, being the secretary, doing the minutes of the meeting, it sucks. It's like the worst thing in the world. It's like, it's like the last thing that anyone wants to do. Okay, so we have to have a secretary, we got someone who's doing the notes, and everyone kind of clams up and pretends like they're not there. Gordon stepped up immediately and did them well. And that puts me puts me to shame in terms of my commitment to things. I mean, he says I'm willing to do the hard work that people don't want to do. You're going to a protest, demonstrating, making speeches, that's easy. But this is the real work of organizing. And Gordon understood that, and he stepped up. He always stepped up. Thank you, Kenji. Joe, you're next. Go ahead. Joe, I think you're muted.
All right, great, thank you. I've known Gordon for 20 or more years, and always, look forward. Always very much enjoyed when I was in his presence, whether it be at a meeting or just a Gab Fest or whatever. Gordon, when he was in a setting, whatever setting, and he had an opportunity to speak, he was always very authoritative. And he did that with modesty and often humor. And I loved his humor, especially on Facebook. I'm a social media phobic, but sometimes I get on Facebook and his humor on Facebook was beyond anything I've ever seen. But he was, like you say, modest and funny. And when he expressed himself, it could be on almost any topic. He was a Renaissance man. He just knew a lot about the most about whatever we were talking about in the conversation. And often he had the last word because nobody had anything better to say, really, any response. So I will miss Gordon very, very much. And it was a thing I looked forward to whenever I knew I was going to see Gordon at a gathering or a meeting or anything. That it made it a lot better.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for that. Gordon spoke with authority because he had the authority of his knowledge and of his learning. He never spoke about anything. He never pontificated on things he didn't know, which is something I'm trying to get better about. Joe, thank you for that. Thank you so much. Next up, you hit it. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you. Hi. Yeah, so I did not know Gordon that well, but I knew him for years because anytime I went to any kind of protest or march or gathering, there he was. And what I remember was really is his theatrical side. For a while, we were active with Money Out, People In, with Sheila Fish and other people. And for a while, we were doing songs and skits at demonstrations. And Michael Sullivan was very much involved with that. And I played violin and sang. And I remember Gordon loved to dress up as the villain. Remember him, wearing a top hat, and I remember him. We were doing something with Your Land, This Land Is Your Land, and I remember him singing, "This land is my land, it is not your land. I have a shotgun and I will use it." So, and with just tremendous enthusiasm. So that's all I wanted to say, to remind people of that side of Gordon.
Thank you, Huda, for that. I think we all remember the astonishing theatricality of Gordon that would always take us a little bit by surprise. And I remember, I remember there was at a protest. I think we were in front of some bank in Martinez, and there was one person, and he was dressed up in the most well dressed I've ever seen Gordon. He was in a suit, and he had, I think he had banker. He had money signs on his thing. And there was one person who passed us, and he said something, not complimentary. And he's Gordon started, I've never seen him do this. He was not assertive like this. But Gordon started kind of walking with him, says, this money, he put it out like this. He had all these fake Monopoly money. He says, "You won't be getting this." And he put it back in his pocket to say, you're defending something that you're never going to get. You're defending wealth, and you're defending me, because he was playing the villain, and you're still not going to get anything that I have. I thought it was so funny. I'll never forget that. He just kind of followed him, and it was so funny. It was so funny. I mean, gosh, I'm welling up with emotion every time these memories come back to me, knowing that we had something very special. Everything that we experienced with Gordon was very special. We were in a special place and a special moment if Gordon was there. He just was enabled that. Here's also someone very special to me, Amy Scott Slovic. Amy, go ahead. You have the floor.
I wanted to say that I was blessed to be able to serve on the issues committee with Gordon at the Central Committee in Contra Costa. And when I first came there, it wasn't necessarily the friendliest spot for progressives at the time that we came. And I know Rebecca's on it now too, and Gordon was with us. And it was over the last few years. I mean, when he would present some kind of legislation, he knew every fact. I would read about it, I get some basic ideas, I haven't something about it. He could answer down to the most minuscule detail on a bill about what it was, and speak so eloquently about it, why it was needed, especially this big one that he was working on with trying to get money out of our elections. Oh yeah, sure, from foreign money, but just the way he could talk about it and how he could get his ideas and thoughts together and present it in a way. And even people that had different ideologies would really listen to him and had a lot of respect for what he had to say. And I think he's really done a lot of work helping bringing the Central Committee a lot more progressive than what it was let's say 2016. I mean, honestly, Kenji, Rebecca, everybody, Susanna, me, but it's honestly it's made a big difference, I think, having him be able to speak so eloquently and know so much detail about them, that he had so much credibility with people for that. And I really admired it. And also, I just want to say, Walter, I'm still thinking about you. And I was also blessed to be able to spend some time with Walter and with Gordon at the end of his life. And I agree with what you said, Mark, about the nurses. When I would go in, just because, I'm a nurse, I go and I would just talk with the nurses, and they were just it's just like a revolving door. People were just constantly there. And it's a big testament to him about how loved he is to have that many people there for him. So
Yes. Oh, thank you, Amy. Thank you so much for that. Amy, you and everybody I see on this call, all of you have done incredible work to make the East Bay more progressive. I mean, you're all heroic, and I can detail every single one of you here how you've helped move the needle dramatically when it needed to be moved, and you've permanently made that progress for our region. And all of you deserve tribute and credit. So many of you on this call. So, Amy, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Candace Miller, go ahead. The microphone is yours.
Hi. Oh gosh, I'm one of his nieces, and I'm so touched by everything that you guys are saying about my uncle. Like, sorry. I have things I wanted to say, and I feel like everybody's saying all of that, was such a humble, beautiful, committed person. And just I'm laughing out loud at the stories that you're telling about him goofing off. One of the pictures that I wanted to share, which I couldn't find, was from him at my wedding with my other uncle, and they're doing like the can or something, like they're doing these high kicks. And it's just like, I was like, oh, I don't know if I should share that if I find it, because maybe maybe that's a side of them they don't know, and maybe that would just be too goofy. But obviously, I think my favorite thing about coming to this and hearing you guys talk is that I can see that he really found community and people that really love and understand him, and a place that he could serve and be and do his work in the world, because he was really intelligent, really compassionate and caring. And I love the picture that you kind of chose as the head of the slideshow, because I think it really broadcasts that sensitive, caring nature that he has, and somebody said how humble he is, not needing to have credit for things. And I think that also shines through. I just want to thank everybody who's been there for him and who's his friend, and who was there with him in the hospital. And that's it.
Thank you, Candace. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here. We're honored to have you with us, really. Gordon was quietly a very sensitive man. In a very quiet way, he was very sensitive, and I think that is why he was able to be so empathetic to other people and to be as courteous and kind as he was. And I remember when his feelings were hurt by something that happened in a social situation, and Gordon says, I didn't like that," he said. But I could tell he was really, he was very sensitive. It wasn't something he could shrug off. He felt it. And he made sure that other people didn't feel, disrespected, dishonored, or hurt. He never wanted to do that to others. And I can say in all my time with him, I don't think he ever disrespected anybody or intentionally or unintentionally hurt someone's feelings. I think he was such a good soul. Thank you, Candace. Eloise, go ahead. I'm sure. I think you're muted. You are muted.
I just want to show you what we saw on Friday mornings when he joined Friday Coffee. Behind his desk, he had universal health care. I have both, but he had Uncle Sam demanding it. That's all.
Eloise, I mean, forgive me for imposing on you. I mean, do you have other memories you can share with us? I mean, do you remember the first time you met Gordon? I'd be. Oh, Eloise, I think you're muted.
There are other people that want to say,
oh, okay.
Want to talk. So just let it go.
Absolutely. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No problem.
Thank you, Eloise, so much. Dear friend Rebecca, go ahead.
Yeah, I first met Gordon when I had just moved to this part of the county, and he was working on Kenji's campaign, and in all my involvement with various and sundry progressive things, he just showed up to everything, just everything. And one of the things that I appreciate so much about Gordon was he was very direct, but also relentlessly good natured, and I never ever saw him be spiteful to anyone. And I've been with Gordon in a lot of tense and angry meetings, and I just never ever saw him be even the tiniest bit mean. He just seems so deeply, deeply good that I can't even imagine him being nasty, no matter how worked up anybody got. And I'm almost to the end of my term with the Central Committee, but while I'm still there, I'm really gonna miss his presence in all those meetings.
We're all going to miss his presence in all manner of things. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Walter, I think I'm going to put the spotlight on you. Walter is Gordon's brother and has been sort of having to be responsible for dealing with matters of Gordon's passing, and I'm really thankful that he's here. And I just wanted to give you the microphone, give you the space to tell us anything and everything.
All right. All right. I want to thank everybody that I've had the pleasure, honor to meet. It's been a remarkable experience. And I wanted to comment on some of them. Kara, my brother's probably most powerful newly acquired goal, actually comes from our dad, who was very active with the National Association of Retired Federal Employees and thought it was very important. And Gordon and I, in part, as was true for all of Gordon's in my life, learned from our parents, who were a wonderful, wonderful family, and very, very grateful for all of that. The best, a little comment about Michael, who will be coming up in the song that was played earlier. Our favorite, we used to, when we got together, we would dance and sing and kind of do what Mr. Sullivan and my brother apparently did quite often. We liked to go places where there were groups of people and have our own sense of theater. And the best song from the Woody Guthrie verse that Gordon and I liked from the Woody Guthrie song, "This Land Is Your Land," is on the other, at the end. And I went walking down that old highway. I saw a sign that said private property, but on the other side, it didn't say nothing at all. This land was made for you and me. If that was a verse that Gordon and I really loved. And dance to quite often. I think at the end of this, our mother, our father, my brother, and to the extent I have any power in this world, I hope that we all would lean towards working for a better future, for good Lord knows that we've allowed those of us who have gray hairs. I guess before I get to that, Ellis, you're dead right. Gordon and I, when my dad was towards the end, the last 2 years, I had the absolute pleasure to take care of my dad the last 7 years and my mom the last 4.5 years. And my dad had a tube inserted to allow him to breathe about 2 years before he passed. And they kept him alive for 2 more years. And north of the neckline, my dad was absolutely fine. But he said, don't ever, I'd never want to tolerate that again. And Gordon and I both understood that clearly, and that's the only conversation we ever had. Ellis is right. I mean, or I've sinned until very recently. I've never put anything down. Everybody needs to understand that we can all fall and bump our head. And I guess the last admonition is that our family, my brother, my mother, my father, and I would very much hope that all of us take some energy from the knowledge of Gordon or wherever we get the knowledge of the good and work towards changing, making Contra Costa more progressive, making the United States finally moral in things like the Palestine and the way in which we allow filthy money to influence our lives. And I thank you all. It's been a pleasure to meet virtually everybody I've met here.
Walter, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a great brother to Gordon. Thank you for handling everything that you've had to handle in the past few weeks. Gordon was very special to all of us, so thank you for doing that. We still have some hands up for people who want to speak, and I certainly want to make sure that everyone is allowed to speak. So, Lawrence Abbott, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for saying what I wanted to say, and much more, to where I could actually hear Gordon's voice. In your impressions of him, because he was a very unique and very memorable. But the one thing I just want to highlight that maybe didn't get said is that we can really learn from Gordon and continue to learn from him. Can you still hear me okay? Okay. And, the Powell memo was really important to him because he not only focused on being strategic and going to the root of the problem and, power. And so I challenge everybody on this call in his memory to read the Powell memo, even if you read it before, and really understand sort of the roots of our problems and the reason why Gordon was always active with Move to Amend also. And by the way, Move to Amend is going to highlight Gordon in their next national email blast newsletter to the country. So just let's keep learning from Gordon. Let's keep emulating him. Let's keep our ego small and our passion high, and just love each other more. And that'll make us that much more effective and bring that legacy to life continuously. Thanks so much, y'all. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Lawrence. And that's wonderful to hear that Move to Amend is going to be doing that. That is really well deserved. Gordon was all about getting money out of politics. He said that is the source of all of our problems. Everything stems from that. That is the nexus that we need to change that before we can change everything else, from healthcare to the environment to everything else, money and politics. And he was relentless and a brilliant champion and he was able to convince anybody. He could convince Republicans on that issue when he sat down and talked to them. He was so persuasive on this issue particularly. Lawrence, that's wonderful news. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. My good friend Richard Adler is here. Richard, I happily give the microphone over to you. Good to see you, Richard.
Good to see you as well, and I can't think of a better host of this event than you. You're perfect for this day of remembrance. And I don't think I knew Gordon as well as some of you, but over the last few years, during COVID, we used to meet before COVID for coffee in person, and then we did it kind of a Zoom coffee meeting. And Gordon was always one of the Friday participants. And kind of some of the thoughts I've just jotted down. The fact that if you wanted to debate Gordon, you better know what the hell you're talking about, because he always had the facts to support his arguments. And there was often a time in that Zoom when we got into science, and I would kind of watch them go and try to soak in some of the knowledge. But the thoughts about Gordon is, a lot of people kind of have good thoughts about what they think should be done, but Gordon got out there on the front line and put his beliefs into action. And that's one of the things I think I admired about him the most. And, you think about how important communications is, and he had the knowledge to communicate and make arguments and educate people, which, really goes a long way. And I think, he would probably say, you'd ask, why are you always out there? Election isn't until November or whatever. And I think he'd probably say, when democracy is under siege, you can't take a day off. So that's kind of the way I feel. And I think a final point is we talk about family and family values, but I'll tell you, you spend a holiday with the family, and you're genetically related, but maybe not in many other ways. And I feel like in this group and some of the Zoom meetings I've been in, I've been with family, and I feel politically and morally and trying to save the earth, Gordon was family. And so I'm very proud of the fact that I knew him and had some time with him that I look forward to every week. So I'm going to keep those memories with me and try to be better as I go forward.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Thank you for that. Family, the old cliche, friends are the family you choose. Gordon was certainly family for all of us here. Ina, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I have two really nice moments of Gordon being a perfect example of someone who's super polite and humble at the same time, and super smart and not just stepping all over people, because of it. He wasn't about ego, which was one of my favorite traits about him. But these two moments came from the first convention for the California Progressive Alliance. We sat at a table with some strangers, and they weren't touching the plastic cups. And they told us, oh, that stuff will seep into our skin and it's going to poison us. He just sat there and said, oh, would you like to hear my knowledge about plastics? And they said, okay. So he gave them the shortest, kindest lecture about how their information was outdated, used his actual chemistry knowledge and told them what it was actually made of, what it doesn't do. They quietly listened and did not argue because they could not. And I was just so impressed by that, because I know most people will take that opportunity to talk down to somebody else, and he didn't do that. The other moment was on the last day. He was the timekeeper. He had the neon sign that said 30 seconds and 5 seconds left so the speaker could see. So the last speaker was an Indigenous woman, and she was talking about, some of the issues with the Indigenous population. And her 2 minutes were running out. He put 30 seconds up. She keeps talking. He puts 5 seconds, and then she suddenly just yells at him, I'm going to keep speaking. I don't care if my time runs out. I need to be heard. Yada, yada, yada. So what does Gordon do? He just takes the sign, shrugs, puts it down, and just lets her go. And I'm just thinking, good man. That's the kind of guy he was. He was not into conflict, and he was nothing but respectful. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Ina. And Ina, I know you've been very present for Gordon and for this moment in dealing with things with his estate, with his family. And I think we all owe a debt of gratitude for what Ina has sacrificed in these recent weeks. So
sure,
Ina,
he was inspired by his willingness to do something when something needed to be done.
Great. And I just want to, his scientific knowledge. I mean, he was at Lawrence Livermore Labs for many, many, many years, his extraordinary life before this life that we know him as an activist. This is a person of incredible intelligence and competence in terms of the sciences, chemistry. His curiosity was obviously very wide ranging, and we know him in this iteration, but he had iterations before and during this time that we knew him. Ina, thank you so much. Ina, thank you so much for so many things, and also credit to Ina for that wonderful slideshow that we saw earlier. I hope it wasn't too mangled by my lack of technical proficiency getting it to you on Zoom, but thank you so much for making that. My good friend Shirley. Shirley, go ahead. Shirley, I think you're muted. You are muted.
I think everybody has said almost everything. I mean, the sentiments that we carried about Gordon, I mean, he was such a really cool person. I mean, always joking, always warm, nice. The first one to volunteer to help all the time. But I worked with him in several groups, and California Clean Money was one of them. He had so many good memories of going to Sacramento in his group, and we passed, a lot of bills. And Gordon was always right there because that was his main passion, was money out of politics. And I even remember being in San Francisco. I think we were going to the Supreme Court to appeal something that had been overturned. Maybe it was something with move to amend. I can't remember, but we had a big banner, and Gordon and I were carrying it up front. We had a little parade up to the court. And I mean, I remember that was being, as one of the best experiences. I've got to find that picture somewhere because that was one of my favorite of him. and also in Contra Costa Move On, he was so instrumental. And he actually dropped out for a while, and I actually kept pursuing him to come back because he'd kind of left a big hole there. And he's leaving quite a big hole now that he's gone. But he was so instrumental in doing so many things. And other than and also recently we were canvassing together, I believe for Marisol, and he would always be the first one. If you ask him anything, he was the first one to respond. And I know he had 1,000 commitments all the time, but he always made time. And even for social events like Sheila and Michael and me and him, sometimes we'd just get together for lunch just because. Sometimes we'd be planning events, sometimes we'd just get together, for no reason. And I'm really going to miss him. He was everywhere. He taught me personally a lot about politics, and talking about the Powell memo. I mean, I learned more about the Powell memo from Gordon than I ever had learned before. So yeah, I'm gonna miss my friend, and that's all I wanted to say. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. It seems like it's been forever since I've seen you, Shirley. So it's great seeing so many familiar faces that I haven't seen in a long time. Speaking of which, our dear friend who was so welcoming to me, along with Ellis and Gordon and Kyoko, when I was up in Contra Costa in 2015, 2016 for Bernie, Kate Farrar. Kate Farrar, go ahead. I think you're muted. You are muted.
Hi. I'm just gonna read what I wrote on my Facebook wall. But I met Gordon at the Walnut Creek Farmers Market in 2016. I was working at the University Avenue office in Berkeley, and I met him and Ellis, and I was like, oh, there's more Bernie people in Contra Costa than just me, and so that's how I met Gordon originally. But here's what I wrote. So grateful to have met my devoted activist friend, Gordon Miller, 8 years ago. He was a mentor and a friend, and we started a local Our Revolution group with other committed community organizers. Put on events every month, tabled lots of events from Women's March to Concord Oktoberfest, and organized for Bernie and other grassroots candidates over the years. Gordon was the smartest guy in the room, so intelligent, really cared about the issues, and really cared about people. Rest in peace to my dear friend and mentor, Gordon. The world will not be the same without you. We will always remember you. But yeah, that's what I wrote. But I've been so sad to hear about what happened to Gordon, and just have so many fond memories. We drove down to the California Progressive Alliance in San Luis Obispo. Me and Ina drove with him, and just we had so much fun at all our events. But he showed up in every way. He did all the postcards. He printed all the postcards on all the Bernie issues. He had the button maker. We hosted Bernie button making parties, and I saw Deborah's on here as well. We had some parties at her house, and just really showed up, like everyone's been talking about. Anyone that's been organizing for a few years knows that it's hard to get committed volunteers that are going to show up no matter what. And I'm just so inspired by Gordon. He was always talking about Citizens United and how that kind of changed the game. And we all, Richard was right that we kind of did find our own activist family in our with our activist friends, because we saw what was happening in the world, and we wanted to make a difference. And we worked on Bernie's campaign in 2016 and 2020, but a lot of other campaigns. We worked on Javanka Beckel's campaign in 2018 and Gail McLaughlin's 2018, Kenji Yamada's campaign. There were so many, and I just was just so inspired by Gordon across the board, and this just touches my heart in so many ways to be here with everybody. And my version of BFF is Bernie friends forever. So Gordon's gonna always be one of my BFFs. So, in addition to all of you. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much. Gordon was a great friend to us, great friend to the movement. You know, you heard about all these causes, all these issues, all these legislative bills, all these candidates. He was a friend to all of them. If he was your champion, you had a real asset with Gordon. You were just a self-sustaining powerhouse that you didn't need to activate and reactivate and keep interested. He'd be there for you if he thought you were there for people. Dana, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but someone sort of nudged me that maybe you'd want to speak. Dana, are you available? If not, no big deal. But if you would like to contribute.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone. It's so great to see all of you. And it's quite an honor to be part of this memorial. And just hearing all the great stories, about Gordon. And I mean, I may not have known him as much as most of you have, but what I remember about Gordon was just like he had a huge heart, and he wanted nothing more than to make this world a better place. And, it was an honor to be, part of, our revolution and working with him, and, just seeing how he was, how dedicated he was to the movement and just, the cause. And it was just so moving and inspiring. And as you know, as you all know me, I do like to write poems. So I actually wrote a poem about Gordon. Yeah, I could go ahead and read that right now. I'm in the car right now, so I'm just on my way to go somewhere. But so I wrote this poem. It's called "A Silent Warrior." It's about Gordon, and it's about his dedication to the world and just making things better. So I wrote, "The silent warrior sees the world in pain, people with their feelings unfulfilled, with no hope to gain. Heated sky
go ahead and give that another shot. Go ahead and give that another try. Go ahead and turn off your camera, and maybe I'll give you a little bit more data. And go ahead and
Okay.
start from the top again. Oh dear.
Hang on 1 second.
Why don't you have her put the poem in the chat?
Not a bad idea. I think she's frozen anyway.
She's in the car, so that would be kind of difficult for her to do.
Yeah.
Can we come back to her, Mark? Because I think we all would like to hear it.
Yeah, I certainly do want to hear that. But in the meantime, one of the things Kate said is that Gordon made it fun. And I know this is a moment of remembrance and we're naturally somber because of this loss, but we got to remember that activism is fun. You get to be with your tribe, with your friends, with your family, on a cause that's, on a cause that's bigger than yourself. And you get to do that with others. And he did that with mischievous glee. I think, and we got to remember that this is I think Gordon would not like it that we have been so gloomy about this for so long, and so I would like if Michael Sullivan is ready about getting into good trouble, as they say. Michael and Gordon like to create good trouble. They had that mischievous glee in telling truth to power and being a nuisance to power. Michael, if you would like to, I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, and you can speak. And also, we cordially invite you to sing 2 songs that Gordon would have loved you to sing. Michael, go ahead if you can. Michael, you may be muted. You are muted.
Do we need to stop the recording?
Yeah, but can you see me okay though? Because I don't see myself up there on the top thing.
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, have I been blacked out somehow? Well,
You might not have started
blacklist
your
never
video,
leaves you, Michael.
What's that?
Getting on the blacklist never leaves you, Michael.
Your video is off, Michael.
Yeah. Go ahead and look at the bottom left of your Zoom window. There might be a stop camera, start camera, the camera icon. Go and click on that.
Oh, there's the start video.
Oh, start video. Yeah, my mistake. Yeah, start.
That it?
There you are.
Oh my God, where am I?
You're here.
And there. I've been blacked out the whole. I've blacked myself out. Oh well, I'm not a technical guy. Gordon was. We had a partnership, and he was the technical guy. I mean, he, the details and everything, and I've been feeling pretty emotional the whole time, and I'm hoping I can get this going here. But the last thing Gordon and I did at the Earth Day on the 20th of April is when I was singing at the very end and doing some of my own songs or variation stuff, he came up and I was singing "This Land Is Your Land," and I didn't know if he were listening or not. I was just doing my thing, and I wasn't expecting to do the scam was the thing we came up with, and to kind of like echo Ellis that we were partners in crime, and the crime was that we got away with doing the things we did without getting arrested. So we did the scam, which the lead-in song, of course, was "This Land Is Your Land," and he would come up and say, "No, this land is not your land. This is my land. I've got my shotgun and blah blah blah." And then I'd get into the the hokey pokey, and it was wow. I don't know if it's ironically or whatever, strangely, it was probably the best time we ever did it. It went very smoothly. So I'm getting pretty emotional. I don't know. So maybe this will cool things out. But this is this land is your land, not the whole song. And if Walter, if you want to do that one about, you know, the trespassing and all that, my favorite verse is the one about, you know, in the middle of the steeple. The chorus part again. That's the one I can.
Michael, somehow you got muted. Oh dear. Michael, you're still muted. This is Gordon messing with us. This is Gordon having his little fun. This is Gordon being mischievous to us. Michael, you are still muted.
I think I keep hitting something. So I'll just put this off the side. Well, I don't hear many people singing along. Come on, you guys.
Thank you, Michael.
If it's
Brothers,
okay.
ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, what you just heard was democracy. That's what democracy sounds like.
Oh no! Oh no!
It is a cacophony, it is a chaos, but everyone
It
is
is
singing the same melody.
I think it sounds great. Brought a
Yeah.
smile on my face.
Gordon would be ecstatic. Michael, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Delay there. I was gonna
That's what democracy sounds like.
echo.
Messy.
So
Really messy.
I'd like to do another song that's a little bit more mellow, kind of a ballad.
Okay.
And it's not one that Gordon and I did a lot together, but I sang it to him in the hospital. And 500 miles, it's kind of like
Oh, I love that song.
you're going on, the person is kind of getting home, and I think in a way Gordon is going home. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Gosh.
I miss Gordon with our singing. Definitely.
I'll join in next time I see you at a protest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. We need more rallies. We need to protest, and I'm wearing my Free Palestine now because
Yes.
I knew Gordon would appreciate it.
So Gordon understands the struggle continues. Gordon understands and would be very happy with the fun that we just had.
Yes.
and understands the way that's the way it should work out. Dana has put the poem in the chat.
Oh,
I'm
good.
going to read it out loud now. It is called The Silent Warrior. The silent warrior sees the world in pain. People with their feelings unfulfilled, with no hope to gain. Heated skies and atmospheric river raids. He's a warrior, though, with a big heart, and he smiles while he stands in fields of burnt grains. One thing he knows will remain, his undying love for the world and good things that can surface again. The silent warrior never wavered. He tries with all his might to save what's left in our home. He fights from day to night with a smile to his ears, his undying light. The silent warrior gives color to the skies, so beautiful and bright, as the people again see the world as it should be. The silent warrior has given happiness and hope to human beings. Thank you, Dana. That's a beautiful poem, beautiful tribute to Gordon. Beautiful. Thank you for writing that. I'm so sorry you couldn't give that in your car. Gordon, needless to say, is going to be very missed. It's going to leave a huge hole in all of our lives. It's going to leave a huge hole in East Bay activism. But he did what we are all supposed to do, what we're all tasked to do in this life, which is to leave the world a better place. And Gordon Miller certainly did that. in our lives and in this world and in this entire state. And we're very, very grateful. And we're very honored that the family members could be here to share this tribute of this remarkable person. And we're thankful. We're thankful for him, and I'm thankful for all of you being here. And this was very hard to do. These are always hard to do, but this was particularly hard. And thank you all for being here. And with that, Sudia, go ahead and play us out.